Welcome to Screen Nerds. I'm Kieran Zona, your host for today. Welcome to the channel. This is my first video, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm really excited you came to join us. I was trying to figure out what topic I wanted to cover for my first video, and I decided I wanted to cover the Pixar Theory. The theory that every single Pixar animated film is connected in one same universe. So without further ado, let's get started. The Pixar Theory created buzz back in 2013 when a guy by the name of John Negroni posted about this thing he called the Pixar Theory. This is when people really started to notice that the films had a lot of similarities when it came to Easter eggs and even characters. Now don't be mistaken, people in the community definitely thought that something was up at Pixar prior to his post. John, however, put it all in place and created what is widely known as today. If you haven't read his take, I highly recommend it, and I'll add a link to it in the description below. Now there's two ways to look at the theory. One, in order the films came out, or two, the actual chronological order of when the films take place. We're going to be looking at the latter, which starts us with the good dinosaur. The good dinosaur actually poses an alternate universe, and for my theory, I think I'm going to say that this alternate universe where the dinosaurs weren't wiped out is actually the universe the whole Pixar theory takes place in. The good dinosaur shows us how the dinosaurs were never wiped out and they have a population problem. Not enough resources for too many dinosaurs. This is really important because that's basically the main theme for this whole theory. This then leads into Brave. Merida wants to be her own person, but her father wants to marry her off to a suitor to make the family name stronger. Makes sense, that was very common for the time, but Merida doesn't want that. Merida discovers magic, which she thinks could solve all her problems, but she actually ends up turning her mom and brothers into bears. The magic is somehow connected to this mysterious old lady that lives in the middle of the woods. The magic personifies everything it touches, including the bears and even random objects in the witch's shop, like a broom. Remind you of something? The witch not only is obsessed with magic, but can also mysteriously pass through doors and disappear, which is really weird, but it's something you need to remember for the future. Because Brave takes place centuries before the rest of the universe, it gives the animals that were affected by the magic plenty of time to evolve and grow smarter and more intelligent from the human traits we had already seen. This leads to all of the animals being more personified and more intelligent. What we end up looking at is the progression of animals becoming smarter than humans, and in the next couple films, we'll see how the humans respond. Now we're going to look at Ratatouille, and we assume that Ratatouille takes place around 2007 because that's when the film came out. Now I know what you're thinking. Kieran, I know for a fact that Incredibles is before 2007, and you're right. However, everything fits into this list chronologically, and right now we're looking specifically at the animal progression timeline. Incredibles is on a separate progression that we'll get to. In Ratatouille, we see Remy, a rat that wants to cook. He is slowly testing out his new traits that the other rats don't seem to have a desire to, and that's because Remy is symbolic to revolutionaries like Sir Isaac Newton or Charles Darwin. Everyone thought they were crazy until they proved to be right, and Ratatouille just shows us one of the examples of how these animals are evolving. Next up on the animal side of things is Up. Up, the movie that everyone balls over just in the first 10 minutes. Up takes place in the beginning in 1940, but in the end it's 2008, and it's really the ending that we're concerned about. Carl's on the search for Paradise Falls, where his idol, Charles Muntz, always talked about. The theory states that we see the evolution of the dogs because of the collar that Charles has given them. The dogs think like humans, fully understand speech, and are able to communicate. Obviously, we still see that there are some holes in their knowledge. For instance, squirrel! That's the Doug in Doug. He's not completely evolved yet. Another really big thing that adds to the universe is Kevin, a mythical creature. And we don't know exactly what Kevin is, but what we do know is that this is a universe where dinosaurs were never extinct, which makes us believe that Kevin is actually a later evolved species of something that we saw in the Good Dinosaur. The last film on our animal side of things is Finding Nemo, and we're going to combine it with Finding Dory because they basically have the same thing that we've seen in other animals. But the interesting thing I want to point out is that there isn't a single animal underwater that hasn't evolved. Every animal underwater seems to at least have one trait that's human-like, and that's really interesting because that's how we saw evolution in the first place on Earth. It happened in the water before it happened on land. Now, this doesn't mean we don't see animals with deficiencies, like we see with Dory's memory or Gerald's Geraldness. Well, that's the animal side of things, and if you haven't guessed it by now, the next progression is the human side. There's only two main movies associated with the human progression, and that of course is The Incredibles and Inside Out. The most important one here is The Incredibles, so let's dive in. The Incredibles, in my opinion, is the best Pixar film. It tells the story of the supers living in the world. The animals have been evolving, so it makes sense that the humans would too, but herein lies the issue. The rest of the humans want nothing to do with the supers and make them push away their powers. Well, now, of course, we don't know what is going to happen in Incredibles 2, but at some point the supers die off, or have something else happen to them. In Inside Out, we get to see how emotions work, and that really gives us an insight as to how the energy works for the world of Monsters, Inc., which we'll get to. Inside Out's a great film, but unfortunately there's not a whole lot more that's really invested in the theory. Now, there's actually a third progression that is really important to the theory, and that's the progression of machine and artificial intelligence, which is where Toy Story and Cars fall in. Now, you can see I'm wearing my Pizza Planet shirt, so I wanted to make sure that we got Toy Story in there. Don't worry, we didn't leave them out. Now, you could be wondering to yourself, how could a children's toy like Woody have artificial intelligence? And the answer is by and large. The infamous ruler of humans in WALL-E, by and large, is always around. It appears, of course, in WALL-E, Up, Toy Story 3, and Cars 3. The theory is that by and large is the front for a company controlled by dun dun dun, the Omnidroids, an artificial intelligence program created by Syndrome to destroy humans. The Omnidroids create by and large to do just that. It starts giving artificial intelligence to toys through alkaline batteries and taking over entire governments to the point where they get humans to leave Earth. The only thing that could destroy the Omnidroids was the supers, but the general population doesn't want the supers to exist, so there's no one to stop by and large. But I have a large bet that we'll get some hints to this in The Incredibles 2. The cars are a result of humans leaving Earth. With artificial intelligence in their batteries, the cars can function without humans, and instead use human technology and human artifacts, hence why we see actual landmarks of humans in Cars 2. So now we have the three progressions. Let's combine them. Animals are evolving to match humans. Humans are evolving to counter the animal evolution, and artificial intelligence does what it does best. It evolves. We see animals with resentment to humans, especially in Toy Story with the toys hating Sid, or Lotso hating all the humans. What we're seeing here is what is almost leading to an all-out war. We have humans attempting to resist animals and animals fighting back. And then on top of all that, there's a lurking force in the background that is the artificial intelligence. Well, because of all this happening, humans are forced to abandon Earth, which is what we see in WALL-E, leaving the animals and AI left behind to rule over what is left. This is the part of the timeline where Monsters, Inc. and Monsters University and the Cars franchise fit in. The animals evolve into what we see as the monsters. There's suddenly an energy crisis on Earth, and the monsters are forced to find the alternative source of energy. They design the doors. Now, most people think that the monsters actually live in a different universe. I hypothesize, however, that this is a future Earth, and the doors go back in time to when humans were around, and they use their screams to harness energy, eventually learning that laughter is more powerful. Then the monsters die off, and we're left with the machines. The cars. The cars are all that's left on Earth, and instead of an energy crisis, they have an oil and fuel crisis, and that's where All in All falls in from Cars 2. Funny enough, All in All is a pretty close name to By and Large, and that's because it's the same company. The AI system that created the cars is weaning them off. Well, all the oil they use really pollutes up the Earth, and we are left with WALL-E, all alone on Earth. But now, how does WALL-E end? That's right, the humans come back, and what do? They plant a tree, one that looks surprisingly similar to the tree from Bug's Life. It comes full circle. Bug's Life takes place after the events of WALL-E. Vegetation is back, and we see evolved bugs. And how do we know they've evolved? Well, ants only have a lifespan of a couple weeks, but these ants see multiple winters. One even talks about wishing they were 90 again, and that's their evolution. Now, the only thing left in the Pixar theory is the old crazy witch from Brave. That witch is actually Boo from Monsters, Inc. She became so obsessed with trying to find Sully and Mike that she created the door system thinking it would take her to their universe, but instead takes her back in time. So she goes back in time and gets stuck in Merida's time, and that's why we see Brave happen. That's also why we see carvings of Sully and the Pizza Planet truck in the witch's workshop. That's it for the Pixar Theory, and that's it for us here at Screen Nerds today. If you like this video, give me a like down below. I'll leave John Negroni's original post link down in the description below. And in the comments, I'd like to know what you think the significance of the Pizza Planet truck is. It's seen in every film, so what's its specific significance? If you want to sign on for more nerdy and geeky content, you can subscribe to us, and we'll see you next time.